When I first heard the news, yeah, I thought that was the next thing was gonna, okay, he's not coming to the conference. But they actually reached out within 24 hours and confirmed, hey, by the way, Trump will still be there. We're going to up the security and up the security measures, but still plan on having him speak. We were ready. They did completely turn our entire floor plan around to accommodate. That's events. Just sometimes you have to adapt.
Welcome back to the Block Fuel podcast. We have Justin Doochin, head of events at BTC Inc., the organizers behind the largest Bitcoin conference in the world, Bitcoin 2025 in Las Vegas. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you're out of Nashville. Are you born and raised in Nashville?
I am born, raised, lived in California for a little bit, but moved back here about 8 years ago.
So when you've been at BTC Inc. 7 years. Are you
Yes.
guys, is it something where you're choosing where to have these huge conferences? Is it something where you're lobbying to have it at home? Or was this totally objective? You had no sway over having it in Nashville last year?
No, there was definitely some home court advantage at play. I love Nashville. I wanted all the Bitcoiners to see Nashville, and there might be a future for Nashville in the next coming years for the Bitcoin conference. We'll see.
Yeah. So give us a little bit of background on, I followed like Bitcoin Magazine. The Bitcoin conference is obviously, I think, the biggest conference in the US by far, probably the world as well. Like, where did you guys evolve? If you've been there 7 years, you've obviously been involved in a lot of things and you've seen the evolution. But how does the structure work of company versus conference versus other kind of media and products that you guys have out there?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It really started in 2019. David Bailey, our CEO, he decided that we were officially going to be a Bitcoin only company. And that's when we launched our first Bitcoin conference, which was Bitcoin 2019. It was based in San Francisco. And at that time, we didn't really have a reputation for a conference. So we had to heavily rely on our media arm, Bitcoin Magazine, to pretty much promote the event. So yeah, that event was our first event. It was very small. We had 2,500 people there. It was a great event. But yeah, that was the turning point in our company, I think, when we really focused on Bitcoin only.
So you guys dove fully in, and then I feel print media is it's a great way to, I think, like, we have longtime Bitcoiners like here in Oregon where I live, and there's a meetup that happens second Tuesday of every month, and everybody's subscribing. The moving into building the biggest event around a particular community that's turning into just something so much bigger. And really think of big, I think of last year, like 2024, you guys had Donald Trump, now the president, and it was during election year. You had RFK Jr., who is now as like health secretary, and then you also had Howard Lutnick, and you had these massive names that are very influential. How did you guys get them to say yes to this? How did you convince them that there's a good voting block here? Like, were you pointing to the Fair Shake PAC by Coinbase and others saying, look, like, there's money behind this? And then what was it? Just tell us that story of just getting those guys involved and working with those teams.
First, I have to give kudos to our programming team who just work day and night to make that kind of stuff happen. Of course, the relationships that David has gained over the years in the Bitcoin space has helped. And it was a domino effect. Once you confirmed one, then you got access to another person, and that's just how it works. But from a planning standpoint, it was unlike anything our teams ever had to deal with before. It was a good learning experience working with Secret Service. And of course, it happened a few weeks after the assassination attempt. So that just also added another layer of complexity. But yeah, it ended up working out perfectly. And there were some lines, but we figured it out, and it was a great event.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal event. I enjoyed it last year. Obviously, the city of Nashville is great to go to and visit, but also seeing Secret Service come in a couple of days ahead of time. And were you nervous that they were going to pull out because of the assassination attempt? Hey, we're not going to take this risk.
When I first heard the news, yeah, I thought that was the next thing was gonna, okay, he's not coming to the conference. But they actually reached out within 24 hours and confirmed, hey, by the way, Trump will still be there. We're going to up the security and up the security measures, but still plan on having him speak. We were ready. They did completely turn our entire floor plan around to accommodate. That's events. Just sometimes you have to adapt.
Yeah.
But the good news is, we are now prepared for any situation. So if a big name comes this year or a bigger name comes this year and Secret Service is involved, we know what to expect.
Hinting at that, what are the big ones that you're like alluding to? Who are the people you're excited about? Like, how do you, and I'll just bluntly, like, how do you compete with something like last year, like having such big headliners?
Yeah, I don't know if you can compete with Trump, to
Yeah.
be honest, but we have an amazing headliner list so far. The programming team has been doing work. We have David Sachs, we have Ross Ulbricht, we have
Yeah.
Vlad from Robinhood, Michael Saylor, Cynthia Lummis, Bo Hine. We have an amazing speaker lineup right now. And then this week, I think this is probably going to be aired in a few days,
Yeah.
but this week we have a couple big surprises up our sleeve that will also add to the headliner list.
Yeah. We'll link it in the show notes after.
Yep.
During the election cycle, it's still very much a relevant topic for multiple levels of government. For Trump coming to come and speak at the event, it's, oh, hey, there's still more to come. There's still things to talk about this year, which gets me to the next topic I want to cover, was around like game theory, embracing game theory. So that's the topic for you guys this year. Is that more on the side of corporates? Is that more on the side of nation states adopting Bitcoin? Like, what are you guys thinking?
It's a great question, and we wanted to leave it open-ended for that reason.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is fundamentally designed using game theory and the game theory principles. So whether you're a Bitcoin miner or an investor, developer, or a nation state, you have to make rational choices based on incentives. It could be anyone. It could be someone just looking to buy Bitcoin for the first time versus an institution or a nation state.
Yeah.
And that's which we try to cast a wide net for our conference. If you've been to one of our conferences before, you've probably been to multiple conferences before. You see people in suits, people in flip flops, people surrounded by Secret Service. You get all the different types of people to come to the event.
Yeah. Yeah. And for you guys, like, that's a wild thing, is you have such that like fervor around like the retail crowd that you wouldn't have at a fintech conference. Like, we do talk about a lot about payments and like what's the future of payments and global networks and what's going to replace like Visa and MasterCard. But you're not going to have a fintech conference like Money 2020 have that kind of like retail draw of people coming in. But then you also, for you guys planning around, hey, how do we make it interesting for industry day, and having some suits or having someone, these publicly listed miners like Marathon and Hut 8 and others that are going to be present and big sponsors. So you want to make sure that they have like investors and whoever they're trying to speak with feel like it's a professional event.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We've built these neighborhoods within our conference to cater towards different demographics. So yeah, if you're more interested in networking and institutional content or B2B, we have an entire lounge, our enterprise hall, that's focused towards that. And if you're more interested in open source and dev or even the art gallery, whatever it is, there's space for everyone. We try and create that. We don't want anyone to feel like it's the Bitcoin conference isn't for them.
Yeah. I guess what's been your approach of just of in the US, you have this whole like regulatory like scheme, and it's been a roller coaster. Now, so not as much for you guys. Like, if you've been there 7 years, like, what was it like going from a Trump presidency to a Biden presidency, where things felt a lot more like restrictive, and they certainly were more restrictive, Operation Choke Point 2.0, and where banks were like locking out crypto companies? How is that like feeling? Obviously, things are a little bit like light at the end of the tunnel now, but what was it like last year and the year before and the year before that?
Yeah, it's one of the challenges of organizing a Bitcoin conference year over year is that when you start planning, you don't really know where you're going to be at the time of the event. So of course, price is a huge factor with attendance. So if the price goes up, we typically see higher attendance. More regulatory issues, you typically see lower sponsorships. It's definitely a roller coaster. This year feels really good. We're less than 30 days away. I'm not going to jinx it right now, but yeah, we're feeling really good about this year. We're expecting over 30,000 people. It's going to be our biggest event yet. And we're gearing up for it.
Yeah, yeah. How did you guys end up in Vegas?
Vegas was always on our mind of like, all right, when we're big enough, we want to go to Vegas. And we had conversations with the Venetian. They were very inviting to us and it just made sense. And we also know that with this amount of people, they're also going to want to come not only to the conference, but all the side of events and after parties, receptions, whatever it is that's happening outside of the conference. And Vegas is just a great place to have it for that. We actually launched a product called Bitcoin Week for the first time this year, which includes all of our after parties, some side events. So you can pretty much have the full Bitcoin experience outside of the conference as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The one take I have always is growing up, before I like went to Vegas for the first time, was people talking about, oh, I can't like manage it. It's 24 hours is enough. And oh, it's too this or too that. And it kind of seemed negative how they're doing it. Like they said, oh, hey, you go one night and you gamble and it's fun. It's a bachelor party, something like that. But actually, it's been like 2 weeks there, not last year, the year before, because there was like Money 2020 conference and it was very fintech related. And then I had like, my dad had this like flying competition like a week later. So I had to stay for 2 weeks, which most people thought was insane. But the good thing about Vegas is if you've traveled a decent amount, you know that not everything is always like very available outside of the big cities, but Vegas is very accommodating. If you hungry, you're thirsty, you need to go get medicine, there's always something open. There's always like something you can go find that's good to eat, interesting to do. It's a different life. It's not something you want to live 365 days a year, but it's a very accommodating if you have somebody flying over from Asia that's, oh, hey, I'm like awake and it's 2 a.m. and I want to be able to go eat, or like I want to go find this specific food that's very quality. And then you go outside the like core strip and there's phenomenal like diversity where there's these really good restaurants like Greek and Turkish and different like forms of Asian cuisine that I think is like phenomenal. People never talk about that as much as like the Vegas outside of the strip, but it's a cool place with a lot of like diverse communities, which is good.
Yeah, if you have time, I would definitely, or to our attendees and your guests, if you have time, definitely check out Off the Strip. But even the hotels, our hotel rates are lower than Miami and Nashville.
Yeah.
Flights are pretty inexpensive. It gets expensive when you start gambling and going out and getting drinks and all that. But if you go to for a conference and there to network, it's pretty inexpensive for a conference city.
Yeah, and especially now, it's fascinating to learn that Vegas makes more money off conferences and business travel than they do actually like the gambling side of it.
Yeah.
And seeing like gambling is like the loss leader, maybe not loss leader. I think they're still making money, but it's really like the conferences and these big venues. And Venetian's great. That's where they do hold Money 2020 there. Amazing, just like you're taken care of, being able to get in and out. You're not traveling, not getting cabs, all of that.
Yeah, that is nice having the hotel connected to the convention center. Nashville's, there's some hotels close to it, but not connected. So it's nice to be all one.
Yeah. So who are the big like on the side? We cover a lot of like enterprises, like B2B side, institutional. Who are some of the big partners you guys have this year? I remember I got this hat. It's like a Van Eck hat, and they had a
Yeah.
big booth, big presence last year, but not everyone was jumping in yet. You had Cantor Fitzgerald, obviously, with Howard Lutnick involved, but you didn't have a ton of the like ETFs, I think, fully like out there with big booths and everything at that time.
Yeah, we have a lot more institutional involvement this year. Some new partners are iDig and Frax and
Yeah.
American Bitcoin, Deloitte. We're just seeing a lot of companies come out of the woodwork. And then also a lot of returning companies like Robinhood and Marathon and Gemini, Exodus. So it's going to be a great event, and it's going to have all the great partners there. And the content should also be pretty amazing, especially on
Yeah.
Industry Day.
Yeah. And is that Wednesday of that week? Tuesday?
So Industry Day is Tuesday. It's
Okay.
the 27th. This year, we're doing something a little bit different with Industry Day, where we launched something called Coding Country.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it a broader net. So not exclusively Bitcoin, but we're also tying in some AI and politics and space and like other technologies, and trying to make it more broad to the institutional audience and B2B audience. It'll all be Bitcoin focused, but we're trying to bring in some new sectors as well.
Yeah. What are the challenges around something like that? I know certainly in the space is we've started, and we want to avoid, and like our whole like podcast and channel started because we had been subjected to scams, and we're like, look, like, we're not going to be scamming people and taking in tokens and just shilling them. That's why we typically never talk like price and like shilling things. So it's a lot of these subjective judgment calls on what kind of content you're going to make, what kind of content you're going to like pedestal, like projects you're going to put on. And then how do you guys like make those decisions expanding beyond just the side of
Oh,
Bitcoin as a currency, Bitcoin?
yeah. I want to be very clear. We are not opening it up to any other currencies. Like when I say Bitcoin in space, I'm like,
Yeah.
there might be a panel about what does Bitcoin on Mars look like. We're trying to like open it up to more than just like Bitcoin and payments and institutional. But no, we are strictly Bitcoin only. We don't allow any content or any other currencies or tokens or anything like that. Our programming team is very strict about that, and our sales team is too.
Yeah. And identifying a this company, they have a space programming. This is going to be interesting because I think there's also like the side of when you talk about AI, it's so many of these miners are like diversifying into using their data centers for running like AI models. And so there is that crossover. You have to make sure it's like, all right, is this relevant? Is there going to be attendees that find this valuable? So I'm curious to see that. We'll be there. We'll be like checking it out. So I want to figure out, hey, what kind of like space company should we be looking at?
Yeah. This is our first year doing it. It's a testing model. So far, we've gotten great feedback, but we'll see.
Yeah. Are you guys also where are the other? I know is it BTC MENA, so Middle East, North Africa? Where do you have what conferences that you guys also run?
Yeah, this year we have Bitcoin Asia, which is going to be in Hong Kong.
Okay,
This is the end of August, and that is a 2-day event. And then we also have Bitcoin MENA, which it will be in Abu Dhabi, and
okay.
that'll be early December.
Oh, December, yeah.
Yep, and both of those are. This is our second year for both of them, so we're coming back again.
Yeah. Any kind of different experience you've seen or learned planning those versus best conference?
Yeah, it's a smaller event. It's a little bit more intimate. Last year, each event probably had 6 to 8 thousand people. I think this year we're looking probably around 10 to 12, but it's not 30,000 people. It's not as big, not as many stages, not as many expo booths, but it's a great place to meet people and network. And yeah, especially if you've never been to any of those cities, they're beautiful cities to travel.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to. I'd really love to go to Abu Dhabi. Hong Kong, love this city. Spent like a week there.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's such an experience and shows you the huge world in Asia and the markets outside of what we know out of New York and Chicago and all the big cities in the U.S. Fun question: how often you guys in the internally talk about price? Or I think better way to put it is how do you talk about price? Like obviously it's a fun thing to bull post. Like people on Twitter do well if they bull post of if this number equals this and gold's market cap. So here's what Bitcoin could be. Hey, if
Yeah.
the company buys X amount, like what is what are some of the internal like inside baseball and like, hey, this is how you can talk about price internally, but the other guys, no, you can't. Stop getting our hopes up every single day.
No, it's when the price is pumping, you look into Slack and you go into general Slack or random Slack, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing memes, you're seeing price predictions, you're seeing it all. So just like any Bitcoin company, when the price pumps, it's a very unproductive day.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's something though that you have to celebrate wins, even if you're focused. Like it, the price to be realistic with people does inspire people because it is validation. I think it's market validation that like what you're putting your career on is actually something that like other people are saying, oh, this is valuable.
Yeah.
For you, what was made you do the big leap and to go full on Bitcoin?
Actually, I went to a wedding back in 2017 and
Yeah.
met one of our co-founders, and he orange pilled me. And at the time, I was working at a marketing agency,
Yeah.
and just over a couple weeks, I went down the rabbit hole,
Mhm.
and I saw that a job opening was open, and I just applied, and from there is no looking back.
It's impressive to go all in because there's been so many bumpy times along the way, right? When you go through this like long, like 2018 and 2022 or 2023, like these big sell-offs, and it's very difficult. What would you say for someone getting in the space? Like, what's your big resource? Do you hand them a book? Do you hand them like Broken Money by Lynn Alden? Do you hand them like,
I got to send them the Bitcoin magazine. We have a great 101 guide.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So some of the stuff we do is focused on education. What are some of the like? So Bitcoin Magazine is it bitcoinmagazine.com? Like where could people go? We could point them to being like, look, if you're starting your journey, this is a good resource. This is something you could trust to start learning.
Yeah, I would start on the guides, the Bitcoin 101 guides, and then it takes you down the next guide. And of course, you have your books that you can give people to read. But most people It's a big commitment right there to read a book, but tell them to download an app. A lot of people already have Cash App, so that's an easy one right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the big thing now is like people are looking for trusted sources, and
Yep.
you can find, you're just inundated with different like short-term video and like TikTok, and TikTok investors is like the big meme of even people, within the Bitcoin community on X. They're trying to grow, so they're trying to say outlandish things, but people want to have like steady voices and think long term, and that's better with the ethos of Bitcoin as an investment anyways, is
Yep.
hey, this isn't something where you're buying and selling every day. You're not trading it every day. You just buy it and not forget about it, but don't touch it. Put it in cold storage.
Yeah, the next conversation after they've gone through all the basics is the self-custody, cold storage, and all that. But a lot of my friends aren't ready for that.
I think you guys are working with some of the ETFs. It's like we're learning. Look, that is where a lot of institutions are going to come in, and they're not all going to do self custody. It's ETFs and allocate there. It's going to be good for the space to bring in that capital. That's not for everyone. People need to be educated on self custody, but people that pro self custody also have to recognize that's how a big custodian or a big wealth manager is going to be able to like participate in the space a little more efficiently within their guidelines. Yeah. So Justin, what's the best way to sign up, get involved? I think you guys got a special like bonus code for us. Give us the details.
Yeah. So to go to our website, go to b.tc/2025. And for a limited time, for the next 48 hours, we're going to be running a 50% off all ticket special with code BLOCKFUEL50. So if you go to our website, go to tickets, check out, there's a little box, you can put the promo code in, BLOCKFUEL50, and you'll get 50% off for the next 48 hours.
I'm going to share it with my Oregon gang out here. BLOCKFUEL50, we'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, excited to see you. We got a month away. Are you grinding? Are you wrapping up everything?
Oh yeah, it's a busy day. Every day is a busy day for the next 30 days. So
yeah, good to be busy.
Yeah, it's fun.
Awesome. Dude, Justin, it's been a pleasure. We're looking forward to seeing you next month. Hopefully, we'll probably pop up with a microphone and get a little soundbite from you in person. You'll probably be cracked out, too much coffee, not anything, but
Probably.
we should have plenty to be excited about.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.